Anthony, thank you again for your being here. I know the second thing that National Parents Organization is noted for is the research and advocacy for reform of Title IV-D, the child support system. Now, many people here may not even be aware of it, some people are, but there's also a lot of misconceptions, I think, about that whole thing. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, if you could give us a brief history of and purpose of the Title IV-D system, and has the system maybe gotten off course from its original intent?
Yeah, sure. It's the first thing about Title IV-D and child support is it's a massive topic, right? Every 4 years, Texas OAG produces what they call a review, and that review is a book about this large with very, very small print. And it's a huge topic, but to give you guys a very brief rundown, and there's some really good work done on this by actually the man in red in the front row there. You can look up his website, Pissed Off Parent. There's also a lot of good work done by Mark Ludwig on this issue as well, around some of the history of it. But to boil it down, sort of a Cliff Notes version, in the 30s, the feds passed some sort of law really that applied to situations where there was an absentee parent, where someone abandoned the children, which was extremely rare, or widows. Pretty much that's all it applied to. So, you think, cases of war, things of those, tragic accidents, early deaths. It worked reasonably well until the 60s. And what happened in the 60s? No-fault divorce. Does anyone know who actually sort of started that train rolling?
Ronald Reagan,
right. Republican hero, but he later did admit that was probably his biggest political mistake of his career. So once no-fault divorce came in, all of a sudden, this program that was meant to apply to a tiny proportion of people, as it still exists in other places like Sweden, where there is absenteeism and death, started applying to tens of thousands of new parents every single month, and the program was going to collapse. So in essence, in the 70s, and then further in the 80s and 90s, Title IV-D of the Social Security Act was amended to allow federal funds to help the states collect more child support. So if you're a state official and you're trying to collect child support and you're going to some sort of absentee parent or someone who hasn't worked or maybe has difficult immigration status, they're not having a lot of success. So the federal funds are based on a couple of things. One is sort of a bonus pool, and one is taking away certain expenses that you have, right? A reimbursement. Long story short, what states figured out over enough time is that if you have really good active parents who will fight for their kids, that work hard, those people are likely to pay child support. Whereas folks that are absentee or dead really can't pay child support, right? So eventually what states began to do and what Texas does, so in the eyes of Texas and the Attorney General, I am an absentee parent. And even though I spend about 50% of my time with my kids, I see them all the time, I coach their sports teams, and probably all of you are listed as absentee parents here, even if you're with your kids 182 days a year. That's crazy. The reason for that is if they label you as an absentee parent, they can collect child support from you to fund what has really been a giant scope creep of a program that was originally intended for maybe 2 or 3% of the population that today impacts about 1 in every 3 children in Texas. And based on current projections and what we expect, soon 1 out of every 2 children in Texas will be sort of a party to the state and the child support scheme that we have here. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Again, you can talk with Anthony. He'll give you much more detail about this.